G'day folks, how you going? We're down here in Esperance and we're going to check out the seafront caravan park here. Spoiler alert, it's not going to be a real flash one. But will I come back here and stay here again? You're going to have to wait till the end of the episode to find that one out. This episode is brought to you by Leprechaun Transport, who can transport your general goods anywhere around the Perth area, the country, or even the interstate. So give them a call and they'll be able to see you in the right direction. Hey, welcome back. Regular viewers to my channel will know that I've just completed a series Bush to Beach, and in the end of that video I was staying at a caravan park in Esperance, and this is a review of that particular caravan park. If you haven't seen that series, I'll put a link up here if you can go back and have a look at that. Now I had to think serious about whether I was going to do this video, because while I don't mind doing a video on places where I've got to talk about some bad things or some things that didn't quite work well, things like that, I really don't want to do a video where I'm just bagging the crap out of a joint, and kind of this is where this video would have been going. But the reasons why I decided to do this video was because a couple of months after I stayed here, they were closing the place down to do a complete refit of the place. And while some people have stayed here, lots of people have stayed here in the past, and some of them may have had a good time, some of them may have had a bad time, and people may have heard that, oh yeah, that place there, that's a bad place, don't go there. I want to show well, effectively what it was like, and we're going to look at the changes that are going to take place during the reconstruction. So hopefully it might make people think that it's worth having a second look at. So let's get into it, and we'll have a look first around what the place currently looks like.
The caravan park is the only park in town that's across the road from a beach, and one of the big things I like about the place is when arriving to check in, there is enough room to park a few cars and vans without blocking the place up, and this place has that. As you can see, it's a big park with lots of trees. The sites are generally a pretty good size, so plenty of room to swing a decent sized van into its hole. And a look around the park shows that this is pretty much the same everywhere. The only time this becomes a problem is when people park their cars across the front of their sites. But then I seen that people were pretty quick to offer to come and move the cars when it was needed. Gotta love the community of travellers. There isn't really a lot in the way of grass on the sites. Some are better than others. They are trying, as the hoses come out every time vans leave. There are a few sites that have shade cloth on the ground to try and reduce the dust and the dirt moving around.
Tell you what's a good buy, one of these mats. This is one of these King's mats. When I bought it, I wasn't sure whether I actually ever would need to use one or have one, but I'm glad I got one, because with all the dirt around in this site here, having this on here, we've had no dirt in the van. The sand and that just goes straight through it, and it's a great little spot to sit on, so it's definitely worth having one of these things.
Our site wasn't exactly level, which was a bit of a small issue when it came to getting the water from the drain on the van to the main drain. And all your service connections are a little bit higgledy-piggledy around the place. As for the ground, if you need to put tent pegs in, you better bring one of these. because just a hammer isn't going to be enough. There was a regular pounding of hammers most days. I'm thinking that this might have been a roadway or something at one time. As you can see, in other parts of the park, pegs were all the way in. And yes, you could say you should have brought heavy duty pegs, but we're not camping in the outback. This is a caravan park, and there should be no reason for the ground to be that hard.
This is flaming ridiculous, having to go through this bullshit to get a bloody peg in the ground. I've got to get a miner's right.
I'm just going to unzip this part.
Just looking back at the top-down view again, you might have noticed the road here. That's the main road that comes in from the north, out Kalgoorlie way. In days gone by, that was probably the way that the trucks going to the port would have travelled along. So your first thoughts might go to traffic noise at night, or even during the day for that fact. While these days most heavy trucks would take other roads to the port, there is still the odd truck using this road. But as you can see, it's not exactly busy. So you're right here by the main road that heads north out of Esperance. Not really a big deal because at night time there's very little traffic here. Perhaps maybe if you're in a tent you might hear a little bit more of it, but in a caravan you don't even notice it. So it's not really a big problem. Take a walk with me back to the 1980s. Look, I'm sure that these have probably been renovated since then, but they are old and tired. And at least on entering this one, the small sign on the door says it all. Yep, that's inviting. Now don't get me wrong, these dunnies were clean when you consider what the cleaners had to work with. They're just run down. Now I didn't really use them as I have my own bathroom in my van, but other members of my group complained about broken taps, no hot water, almost no water. If you're at the end, you can watch everyone else's water pass you by, and I hope the drain don't get blocked up. The space to get dressed was pretty small, water dripping from the ceiling, the timer on the motion sensor light was too short, they kept turning off while you're in the shower. You get the idea. The camper's kitchen, well, it's not quite the same level as the one in Carry Valley. Link above to check that park out. This is, well, pretty basic and simple. There is a large grass play area out the front, almost big enough for a full football game. And the kids' play area. Yes kids, this is what kids played on in the 80s. I said earlier that there were lots of trees in the park, and they're not just good for shade. Esperance is a pretty windy place, and being in a park pretty much on the beach generally means getting blasted by the sea breeze. However, a side up the back means that the wind has to pass a lot of caravans and go through a lot of trees. By the time it gets to where you are, it's a gentle cooling breeze. Even though out the front it's blowing a gale. That's pretty nice. Like all parks these days, they all have a place to empty a caravan dunny, cunningly disguised by the rubbish bins. And speaking of bins, I noticed they had plenty all over the park.
So you can probably see now why I wasn't keen on doing this video. So why did I? Because by now the place is closed and they would have started new construction. And I want to show you what is in the plans for the park when it's opened again. Now, I don't necessarily agree with some of the things they're doing, because I think in some ways caravan and camping people are going to be missing out. So let's have a look at the plan.
Let's look at the obvious new buildings first. The grass area was more or less a waste of space. There's nothing happening there. So they've put in these cabins here, which give some of them on the beachfront there. Then they have put in the heated swimming pool. This I think is pretty neat, because it can be quite cold in Esperance. So having a heated swimming pool means you can go swimming when it's cold, and I think that'll be pretty popular sort of thing to go on. Over the back here, we have got a brand new camping kitchen. Now that looks like a pretty big building, and I reckon that could end up being a little bit like the one that we had in the Carry Valley caravan park down there as well. So that looks quite a good setup they've got there. We've now got a games room going in here, which there was no games room beforehand, so that's a new feature which will be pretty neat. Over the back here we have now got some cabins going in. Now this is one of the things that I think will be not so good for caravanners, because at the moment you can pay a little bit extra premium and have the prime sites at the front here, which gives you beachfront views. That'll be all gone, because it's now going to be cabins. We have 3 new toilet blocks going in. Oops. So they'll be pretty neat. They'll be new. They'll be better than the ones they got, and they won't have asbestos in them either. So that's pretty good. We have the old camping kitchen is going to get refurbished, which means we end up going to having 2 camping kitchens in here, which for camping people means it won't be quite as hectic in the one building. So I think that'll be pretty welcoming too. We've also got some new barbecue areas going in. So I reckon they could probably do with a couple more, but 3 is better than what they've currently got at the moment. Over here, some brand new ensuite sites, which they never had before. So I think there's about 6 of them going in there. And out the front here, a new kids play area. Now, there's 2 things I can see for caravanning side of things or camping side of things, which is going to get affected by this new construction. I've already mentioned this over here with the caravan sites being lost out for the views, but with all these buildings over here, that's going to stop any view for people who were camping in this area. So that's where I think we're going to lose out. But the other side of that coin is with these buildings in here, these areas along here won't get that strong sea breeze blowing in onto them anymore. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, I suppose. But will this address the hard ground?
Well, looking at the plan, I'd say no. But there's a line in that plan that gives me some hope. And that's the line that says about the all-new in-ground infrastructure and services. I'm assuming that means they're putting in new power lines, water lines and stuff like that. So in the process of doing that, they've got to dig holes everywhere. So hopefully that'll circulate the ground and solve that problem of the hard ground. So as you can see, it's not all doom and gloom. The staff here are great. They were friendly and happy. You walk past them in the park and they were all waving, saying g'day, smile on their face, and you think about it. It's got to be hard to be happy and friendly all the time when you're at work, when everyone else around you is on holidays. When we booked in, there was an old fella that was booking in as well, and he asked the Sheila behind the counter if there was somebody that could help him to get his caravan onto the site, because he's new to caravan, never towed before, had no idea how to reverse. Now that's a whole new subject. But she got on the radio, called somebody up. By the time the old fellow was out of the car, there was somebody standing there ready to help him get his caravan into site. And you know, you can't complain about that. That's pretty good service. So what's my conclusion? Well, I'm going to leave that to the happy traveller at the end. But it's pretty obvious the place was allowed to run down, and they have a plan in place to fix that. You've got to be happy with that. So that's this video pretty much done. In our next video, we will be going back and looking at the Pemberton Tramway, which was one of the things that we did on our Bush to Beach series. So I'll catch you in the next video. So what do I think of the place? For what it is at the moment, I think it's overpriced. You're paying top dollar for a sandpit where in half the places you can't even get a peg in the ground. I have seen other places around, to be fair, that have got pegs in the ground all the way, so I'm guessing perhaps maybe those areas aren't quite as hard as what this area up here is. But in a month or two, they're going to be closing the place down and completely revamping the place. And I'm hoping that also includes this area up through here, just redoing, starting from scratch basically, is what I'm really hoping they're going to do. Although looking at the map down the front, it's not looking too promising. But would I want to come back here again? After they have refurbished the place, yeah, I'd like to come back again. So RAC, if you're watching, give me a call. I'll come back and do another review after you've done all the works on the place. And I really hope to think it'd be a lot better than what it is now. To RAC standards, I'm sure it's going to be. A bit disappointing because apparently it was a Big 4, and for a Big 4 standard it was pretty low. Would I call this the worst caravan park in Australia? I can't honestly answer that because I don't know. It's probably not one of the greatest ones I've ever stayed in, I must admit. But I'm looking forward to being able to see it when it's all finished. Anyway, that's it for this show. So if you like what you saw, go down the bottom down there and hit that subscribe button, and give it the thumbs up as well, and we'll see you in the next one. Happy travels.